I've been recording music in some capacity for approximately 20 years now. When I first started recording, I started with a karaoke machine that my mother had. I would swap cassettes back and forth, recording layer by layer by layer, with each layer adding more and more hiss and noise, making the end product basically an unintelligible mess that can't be comprehended by human ears. That was back when I was an angsty teen, writing my little emo songs, first learning to play guitar, and I thought I was gonna be the next, insert emo band here. At the end of the day, I was just desperately searching for a way to get what was in my head out of my head. That was back before I knew anything about DAWs or digital recording, before those things were readily accessible to the general masses, and anybody with a laptop was a record producer. I eventually got a 4-track Tascam. It came, it went, and from there, the thing that changed it all, the gateway DAW, as I like to call it, of the early 2000s, Acid Pro. With my hand-me-down Dell computer,
dude, you're getting a Dell.
I ran directly into the little integrated mic port on the back of the PC and was surprisingly able to get some halfway decent recordings going that route. Percussion and drums were always, and still are to this day, the biggest struggle. I tried loops. At one point, I even stole one-shot samples from like isolated parts of songs. I would hand place those one-shots along with hi-hat loops, cymbal one-shots, and I would create my own drum set. I would create my own drum parts for the songs that I was trying to make. Look, I was poor, but I was also incredibly driven to create. But let's take a second to be real here. Who didn't want the Paramore snare? Even when I got my first actual recording interface, I believe it was a 1-channel, it might have been a 2-channel interface by Emu, I would attempt to record a full drum kit with multiple mics using only that tiny interface. I would mic up the kit with confidence like I was f***ing Steve Albini or something, and I ran all of those mics into an old powered PA head that my band used for practice. I would set all my levels with a couple quick practice runs with the drummer. Then it was off to the races, no looking back. All of those channels were summed down to one channel. We're talking 6 to 8 mics, all summed down to one single track. Out of the PA and into this tiny little Emu interface. I remember one time in specific, we were super eager to get some demos tracked. It was a brand new drummer, everyone was excited. We had recorded like 5 songs, and then we realized, when we were listening back, that this crash ride he had was like rocking. It was rocking like really far when he hit it, with no wing nut on top, obviously, poor. It would hit the floor tom mic every time it went down, every single time. And there was almost like this gust of wind is the best way I can describe it, that would get recorded every time that cymbal was hit. It was like somebody was blowing into the microphone and then hitting it with a pencil every time. But anyway, some time passes. I've been recording my own bands. I've been recording some other local bands. I had learned a lot, but recording drums is hard. And sometimes you get really shit neighbors. This is where Easy Drummer enters the story. No more loops. No more hand placing one-shots. Those days were behind me. Now, I was placing tiny red dots that triggered samples. There's a difference. I had graduated. Unlike real life, I had finally graduated. I was no longer using Acid Pro. That gateway DAW had delivered me into the loving, warm, euphoric embrace of Steinberg. Finally, I could make the exact drum parts that I wanted. I could change all of the drum sounds, I could change the shells, the cymbals, the beater type, how much bleed was in the mics, and the best part was the police stopped showing up for noise complaints, not to mention the jump in quality. I did an album or two with Easy Drummer. And eventually, obviously, I moved on to Superior Drummer, which I still use to this day. But we'll get back to that shortly. At this point, I've pretty much tried all of the alternative drum virtual instruments, libraries, whatever you want to call them. I've tried pretty much all of them. And I own far too many Superior Drummer and Easy Drummer expansion libraries. That money adds up quickly. But I've always had a very specific sound that I was chasing in my head. I was never fully satisfied with any of those drum libraries for various reasons. Too fake or machine gun sounding. Too processed. Not processed enough. The biggest issue was the cymbals sounding like. The good enough solution that I eventually came to isn't what I would dub workflow friendly. Programming in Superior Drummer, then I would apply Slate TRIGGER to the multi-outs from Superior Drummer. The mental gymnastics and justification. Superior Drummer would lay the foundation and then Trigger would be applied to that, making it obvious to anyone and Grandma Shirley that Trigger was used, making it come across like drums were actually tracked but couldn't cut it on their own, so triggers had to be used to make sure that those drums cut through the mix. Yes, I was purposely trying to make Superior Drummer sound like Inferior Drummer in some 4D chess big brain move in my head. But then, one day, not too long ago, I stumble upon a video. You guys remember that site? This quick sidebar, quick tangent. Do you remember that site, stumbleupon.com, where you would just click a button and it would take you to the most random stuff? And that's how a lot of us, back in my day, we would find new things, like new music or art or... Anyway, the algorithm gods had blessed me with Ryan. And, more importantly, Robot Dog Drums. I saw this video, I clicked on this video, and I watched this video. And for 35 minutes, I just soaked it all in, thinking to myself, that's it. To be more specific, that, when you say that, it refers to one thing. That being a snare sound. It's more of those. Those are the drum sounds that I've been trying to achieve for so long, that I've been looking for, that I've been chasing, that I've been searching sample libraries for. With that being said, this would be the perfect time to jump in and say, full disclaimer, that Ryan and Robot Dog Drums were gracious enough to send me this product at no cost whatsoever, completely free. However, I was not paid. I was not given any guidelines, rules, things that I can and can't say, any restrictions whatsoever. So anything that I do say in regards to Robot Dog Drums are my own personal beliefs. They are my own opinions. You can choose to believe or not believe, agree, disagree. I have not been replaced by a synth replicant.
Tell me, are you a synth?
Where was I? Those were the drum sounds that I've been looking for so long. And really quick, before I get into Robot Dog Drums, before I actually dive in and show you guys some of what's going on there, it turns out that Ryan actually released a video giving you in detail all the steps and all the settings to get that Paramore drum sound. The sound that I was stealing clips from when I was so much younger, the sound that I've been chasing there's a video that tells you exactly how to get that specific drum sound. Like I said, that's it. When I saw it, that's it. That is the drum sound that I've had burnt into my head for so many years and have been searching for. And I found it with Robot Dog drums. Here we are with Robot Dog drums. I love this drum plugin. So what I have here is a demo that I threw together. It's a track from my previous band Elena Coast called King Koopa. It is definitely not about Mario, but it'll work for the demo purpose here. I've always loved this track, so this was my excuse to re-record it. I'm just gonna play a little bit of this, and you can kind of get a feel for what Robot Dog can do. This is the kit that I have put together for this track. It's a DW snare, got some birch toms. The kick is the Ludwig Vista, whatever that is, 26 by 14, tuned down slightly, ever so slightly. Got those nice dark hats and an array of cymbals. So here we go. All right. One thing that I noticed right out of the gate was that you get the factory presets, right? Every plugin has presets. These are essentially starting points. They all sound fantastic, and what I found is that they all are kind of suited for any genre. They all just kind of work.
And again, it just works.
So we're gonna go through all of these presets and just kind of listen to them in the context of this mix. I'm just gonna kind of play it and shuffle through them, and you'll see what I mean. They all kind of fit, even though they're not supposed to, I guess. So we're gonna start with alternative metal, which has a nice big bronze snare. All right, so here we go. All right, basement punk. The big pop punk. All right, so this is basically the reason that this caught my attention. Big pop punk setting is essentially the Paramore kit. It is the Misery Business kit. So here is that wonderful snare. Play it again. Clean Fusion. Clean Fusion It's a 6.5 by 14 brass snare. Oh, it sounds so good. Here we go. You see what I mean? That all of these presets kind of work. They all just kind of work. I feel like no matter what genre you were doing, no matter what kind of track you were doing, you could pick any of these presets and make it work. You might have to tweak it just a tad, but they're all drastically different, but they all just kind of mesh as well. Like, they're all similar enough that you can swap any of these out for this track, and it still sounds super good. We're gonna go to Dry Funk, which has a really low 9 by 14 brass snare. Here you go. I love how muted everything sounds with this preset. So controlled, just dead. It's just kind of a dead preset. I love that. There's very little resonance on the toms. Everything is just kind of a quick cut off. That sounds cool. Hardcore grind. This snare, man. Saint Anger vibes. Personally, I love Saint Anger. Crucify me if you need to. Let's see what it sounds like. Right. The Heavy Shoegaze Kit. If you go to the mixer, you're going to notice that the room size is cranked all the way up, and the room is actually turned up quite a bit. This is a very spacious, big, ambient kind of kit. This is one that I would say you would have to tweak a little bit for this busy of a production. But nonetheless, here we go. We have the Indie Pop Rock kit. And like I said, these are just presets. They're starting points. You can tweak them very little and get big results, I promise. This is the Indie Pop Rock kit. This is actually the same snare that I picked for my kit. I love it. I love it. I love this plugin. Post-hardcore. Okay. Post-hardcore. There's a little bit of ring on this one. All of these samples just sound super, super good. And on top of them sounding super good, you also get all of the TCI files for Slate Trigger. So if you get a project that somebody actually tracked drums, which is a rarity these days, but if somebody actually tracked their drums and you want to use any of these samples, you get the TCI files for Trigger. You get those samples for sample replacement. It's fantastic. That snare could be on your next album. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know you. You don't know me. Sweet, sweet rim. What a sweet, sweet rim job. All right, here's a post-hardcore kit. Boom, boom. It just sounds so good, man. It sounds so good. That is absolutely, completely different than the kit that I made. Here's the kit that I made. Okay? I wanted a small room because it was originally recorded in a small room. The room isn't cranked. Everything's kinda dead as far as room goes. Okay. Right, and then you bring in this post-hardcore kit. It's such a different sound, but it still works really, really well in this mix. Okay, let's run through some of the things that Robot Dog Drums has to offer other than just presets. So obviously you have your kit view, right? This is the typical, here's your drums kind of view. I like that it's more of an animated, drawn out kind of style rather than trying to look realistic like some other guys. I like that. It's still a layout that you're used to, though. If you go into the mixer, obviously you have your kick, your snare, your toms. You also have a bleed control. You have a reverb, a compressor, and saturation. It's tape saturation, I believe. I'm gonna go ahead and load up the kit that I had for this. So let's just kind of go through some of the features here in the mixer tab. All right, start with the kick here. Now you see, as I adjust this bleed knob, you can turn it completely off just by clicking the word, but the kick is soloed right now. So with the kick soloed, you can adjust the bleed knob to adjust whether or not the kick mic is picking up the snare, or the snare mic is picking up the kick. Just general mic bleed that you would have on a real kit. It just adds that extra layer of realism. While we're on the kick, there's also built-in samples for the kick and snare, okay? So on the kick, you have this 808. The best way that I can describe the 808 specifically is that it adds more impact, you know? It's that punch of the actual beater. It's a nice way to just kind of add that extra impact with a slight turn of a knob. And then we come to snare. There's also a trigger for the snare. That is without. And that is with. Again, just a little bit more impact, a little bit more beef, if you will. Where's the beef? While we're turning knobs, we've got the character knob. The character knob is fantastic, in my opinion. So here's the whole kit. I'll just kind of mess with the knob, and the more modern you go, it seems like the more high-end, the more shine, the more brilliance there is on everything. It's just, you'll see. So natural, unmixed is what it says. It's more of a natural feel and less of that And then we have the punch button. Just kind of tightens everything up so it has a little bit more punch. It does exactly what it says. Well, it looks like the kids are home. And obviously you have full control over the room. Oh, come here. Come here. Ah, look at this baby. Oh, look at this baby. Everybody say hi to Ben. Whoop. Whoop. Can't touch that. I lost track of what I was doing. Alright, so really quick, since everybody came home, I'm just gonna go down the snares really quick. Alright, so here we go. I love this snare. I love this snare. This is a big reason why I fell in love with this plugin. This singular snare. It's nuts. You got a little piccolo there. That is the snare I ended up going with for this mix. Hold on, buddy. We're almost done. We're almost done, I promise. Yeah. 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 No, that's not a cat. That's not a cat. That drum. Drum? Drum. 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 Ow! Alright, one more thing that I want to run through, if I can, with the baby here. One more thing I want to run through is the setup. The setup is remarkable, in my opinion. I am really specific when it comes to my drum maps. I like everything to be where I want it to be, everything to be grouped together by kick, snare, toms, all of my hat work, which is just nuts. There's so many articulations just for the hi-hat, which the hi-hat has always been one of those things that just drove me nuts with other programs. Even the toms have a rim shot and a rim, but you can change all of this and program it to be whatever you want. So I have my perfect little map here. But whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. There you go. So this plugin is super eKit friendly. It's just, there's so much you can do. You can adjust everything, especially the hi-hat control. You can adjust where the threshold is for it to be closed, how tight it is, where it's open. You can... Everybody say hi. Hi. It's... Please, please.
The wind in the window. Look, he's right there.
Anyway, to wrap everything up, this plugin is super, super versatile. There's so much that you can do with it. It is the most natural. I don't know if I would say natural sounding, but it's definitely the best sounding drum plugin that I personally have used. And it is definitely a step up from what I was doing with Superior and then adding Trigger and then mixing that, and that was just so much work when I can just click a preset and get what I was trying to get anyway. So I'm gonna put it back on my kit that I had for this track, and I'm gonna let this track play through, and you guys can enjoy it.
Come here, Eli. Now I'm gonna do it. Is it done now? Thank you for watching. And, well, I'm still gonna go, but...